So this is just going to be a brief, actionable response to the question on the screen. So a student asks, okay, I can't get myself to study right now. Please motivate me. I did almost everything else to distract myself. I listened to a random class, I texted friends, I worked out, watched YouTube, doom scrolled on Pinterest, scrolled through Reddit, read novella. I'm desperate. I have an exam in 10 days. I can't stop distracting myself to actually study. That's a common, problem. Many people have. I used to have it. And I could go into a rant on long-term solutions for this, like meditating, overcoming, phone problems, progressively overloading, how good your discipline is and all of that. But because the student says their exam is in just 10 days, we're just going to go over some short-term, rapidly implementable solutions. All right, so let's talk. I have two things we can go through. The first thing to do is to identify the main problem in this student, and that seems to be their phone. The reason is they're talking about scrolling through Reddit, doom scrolling on Pinterest, watching YouTube. These are typically things we do on our phone. And these days, I no longer talk about overcoming phone addictions through moderation. And the reason is, at one point that might have worked. Today, I just think the social media algorithms are too sophisticated to the point where, while it's doable, it's not worth, going for things like short-term moderation. Instead, it's better to just cut it out. So the first step is to cut out phone. And again, not like forever, just while studying. So what does that mean? Because, everyone knows they have to give up their phone, but everyone has trouble doing it. So you want to do physical separation. That's a bare minimum. So you want to throw your phone, in your backpack, throw your backpack into your closet, close the door, maybe leave your phone with someone else. But you just want to get rid of it ASAP. The reason is your phone is a source of triggers. If it's next to you, it's going to continue buzzing. Even if it's not buzzing, there are studies that suggest just having a phone face up or even face down on your desk cuts your concentration significantly. So you just want it out of sight, and that will tremendously reduce the distractions you get while studying. All right, let's talk about the second issue. Second issue is this person saying, I just cannot get myself to stop distracting myself. This suggests a problem with internal motivation and discipline, obviously, right? We all knew that when we read it. So how do we overcome this? Well, the long-term solutions, again, things like meditation, progressively overloading your tolerance for, enduring hardship and all that sort of stuff is great. But in the short term, the best thing you can probably do right now is just wake up early and immediately work. When I say immediately work, I'm talking about a transition from opening your eyes in the morning to sitting down in front of your computer and studying of like less than 20 minutes. So the reason why this is so important is because motivation it's a limited resource. That's a good way to think about it. And this isn't just, some pseudoscience. This is an actual thing. So we've done studies where we've offered people different, things they want, such as like marshmallows, cookies, whatever, and told them they're not allowed to have any. And then we've measured their ability to resist other temptations or do cognitively difficult tasks an hour out, 2 hours out, 3 hours out of them resisting the temptation. And the longer they're forced to resist, the worse they perform on average on the other tasks, meaning there is some resource that's being drained there. So when is the resource at its highest? Well, obviously in the morning, right? Because you haven't actually done anything yet. So if you have this resource bar and you're all the way up here in the morning, it's a terrible star. You're all the way up here in the morning. You don't want to spend all 100 points on some BS like scrolling, because that's just going to use up points, brain points, without giving you anything in return. What you want to do is instead spend these on studying. And the best way to actually do this is to immediately just brute force discipline your way in front of your computer. You don't want to spend time allowing your brain to generate excuses or different counter arguments as to why you should be allowed 5 minutes or 10 minutes of Reddit or Instagram or whatever before you start, because, and you know this, those 5 minutes and 10 minutes will always turn into, hours and hours. So you just want to immediately jump into studying. Again, leave your phone far away, just start working, and that will at least guarantee you have a solid block in the morning of high quality work. And corollary is you want to do this for around 45 minutes to an hour. The longer, the better. The reason I say 45 minutes to an hour is because that's where most of you probably are if you're watching this type of content. If you keep doing this, you'll get to the point where you can do, maybe an hour and a half. And that's really nice because if you're trying to study for 3 hours in a day, you can finish in 2 blocks of 1.5 hours instead of having to do 3 blocks of an hour, meaning you spend less time on breaks. You have fewer opportunities to get distracted or lose motivation. And for whatever reason, it's just efficient. You get done quicker. And so those are the 2 main tips I would give the student. The first thing to do is definitely to cut out the phone immediately, no matter what it takes. Physical separation is key. And then the second thing to do is to wake up and pretty much immediately get to work to guarantee at least one high quality work block.